Plenty more in the budget to discuss here with Rose Jackson from the Labor Party in New South Wales, Rita Panahi, who would normally be on air right now, and she should have had the night off, but because she's a wonderful friend who's committed to you, the audience, she says, OK, Paul, I'll come in even when I shouldn't need to come in. Rockstar, what did you think of the budget, Rita?
I think it was largely as expected. It is going to give them a fighting chance of the upcoming election, so you can't doubt that. It was pretty sound. I worry about the debt, as you've already discussed tonight, but there is a lot in there for them to work with an election around the corner. So I think Josh Frydenberg has to be commended for really ticking most of the boxes you'd want ticked at this stage.
Yeah, Rose, did they fall into a trap that had been set by Labor, or is this replicating the scenario of 2019, where their narrative then was, we've balanced the budget, well, now 3 years on, it's what's in it for me, and there's plenty that they seem to be trying to put into that story. How do you feel about it as the people who've seen them pull it off before? Does this help them pull it off again?
I mean, look, obviously I hope not. It's really obvious that's the plan, though,
of course.
it? It's really obvious what the agenda is here, which is we have an election imminent and we need to have everything that, lined up to try and fully prosecute our case. I get that. I think the Australian public get that. And that's okay. There's, hey, if there's something in it, that's good policy-wise. I loved the commitment to domestic violence funding, devastating to see yet another woman lost her life, up in the Hunter region in Sydney last week. So, not trying to play too many political games. There was good stuff in it. But on the other hand, it's an election budget. The horizon of this budget is the election in 1 or 2 months' time. And I think that's a bit of a shame, because we do have some long-term problems in this country around wages growth, around cost of living, around housing affordability. And I didn't see enough, I think, long-term thinking in the budget.
Well, interesting about the housing affordability thing, right? 50,000 people a year will be able to access a version of an early or first home buyers scheme, where if you're a single person, you'll need as little as 2% deposit. If you're a couple, it might be 5%. They did this in the 2019 election, and then they've sort of ramped it up since. Rita, again, one of my takeouts here is, of course, yes, it's all about politics, but of the people it helps, in my view, the right people, and it helps them quickly. I think when we hear constantly about when am I ever going to get to buy my first house, 50,000 people will be able to do it every single year because of this.
I think they've done a lot for housing affordability in this budget. I think that's one of the areas that you can commend them on. As far as wages growth, cost of living, wages growth. I mean, what are they exactly going to do in that arena? That's I think something that shouldn't be put on the shoulders of government necessarily. With the 2%, that's all you need as a single parent. I think that is something that will speak to a lot of people, because we do have a lot of single parent families, and for them, housing affordability can be a massive struggle with the sort of deposits you need to accumulate now, particularly in places like Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. So that, I think, is something, again, that they should be commended on. It's not the first time it's been extended. Housing affordability is something that, I don't know, the wog in me gets a little bit annoyed with that, because you know what? It's about priorities. If you want to buy a house, even in Melbourne and Sydney, yeah, you can't get your dream house. You might not get your ideal suburb, but if you're willing to settle for something smaller in a less, desirable location, you can get your foot into the market and, build up to one day, perhaps getting the house that you actually really want. So I think Australians need to change their mindset when it comes to housing affordability, because it is still a possibility, and we still have fairly significantly high rates of home ownership in this country if you compare us to a lot of European nations.